What are you willing to dedicate 5, 6, 10 years of your life to become an overnight success? I've got to maintain unwavering faith, and I've got to put forth extraordinary effort, go above and beyond, whether I feel like it or not.
Every single deposit that you put into actions every single day, that builds up this giant bank that all of a sudden just compounds. It's not linear.
A drunk driver got on the freeway going the wrong way and hit me head on at 70 miles an hour. When they pulled me out of the car, my heart had stopped for 6 minutes and spent 6 days in a coma, flatlined twice more. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I've decided I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair, because that's the purpose of everything in life, is to become the best version of yourself. And every decision, every choice you get to choose. Laying in bed or going to the gym will help me become the best version of myself.
Mr. Hal Elrod, welcome to the show.
Dude, it is really good to be here, man. And any friend of Chandler is a friend of mine, so I'm glad we're finally connecting.
I want to talk about the importance of the number 6 for you, specifically in the context for people listening. 6 years, 6 days, in 6 minutes. 6 years is what it took for you to go from 0 to 1 million copies sold for Miracle Morning, which is now sold many more millions as time has progressed. 6 days where you were in a coma.
Yeah.
And 6 minutes where you were clinically dead after a head-on car collision with a drunk driver. Wow. Let's start with the first one first.
Okay.
So 6 years for you to go from 0 to 1 million in Miracle Morning. So a lot of people think that you come in out the gate and you can just have success overnight. So talk about the importance of overnight success and maybe the misconceptions around the idea of overnight success.
Yeah. This is one of my, I love that we're starting here. It's one of my favorite stories, and I don't tell it that often, which is, and there is, you mentioned the overnight success. There is an axiom. It takes 10 years to be an overnight success, right? I love that. And I once said that in an interview with a gentleman, and he said, so I guess how that begs the question, what is somebody willing to commit 10 years of their life to achieve that overnight success? I was like, I like that. So for me, I wrote The Miracle Morning. I had no audience, right? I was an unpublished, unknown author, but I really believed in what I was in. The Miracle Morning had changed my life. It had changed everyone's life I had shared it with. I was a coach at the time. I was a speaker at the time, and I felt like I had a responsibility to share it with the world. And so that's why I wrote a book. And so as I was setting goals for the book's coming out, I go, dude, I want to change 1 million lives one morning at a time, which was a mission-driven way of saying I need to sell 1 million copies of this book. And so time frame wise, right, a year is an arbitrary time frame. 1 million is the biggest number I could think of. And so I went, I'm going to try to sell 1 million copies the first year that the book comes out. And they call that, being naive. Like I wasn't crunching numbers of what's actually realistic. I think I was just like, I'm a big thinker, And so that first year, I applied something that you had mentioned you've actually used in your life called the miracle equation, which is a concept I created when I was 21 years old to break sales records and do something no one had ever done before. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to apply the miracle equation to selling 1 million copies of the book. And it's 2 decisions: unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. And so my extraordinary effort was everything in my power. I launched my own podcast because I thought, I got to find a way to, share the Miracle Morning message with people. So I didn't know what I was doing. 2013, I had my first podcast. So I did 52 episodes. I had never been on another podcast. So I just started emailing every podcaster. And it was a numbers game. I was in sales. So I was like, all right, if I email 100 podcasters, maybe I can get on 10. If I email 500, I can get on a couple hundred. I got on 152 podcasts that year, right? So I was on 152 podcasts. I had 52 of my own. I put money on a credit card to get on TV shows because I thought morning TV shows selling the Miracle Morning book, that's what a great fit.
Checks out.
Yeah, it didn't actually sell very many copies. But I spent money I didn't have I got on 13 morning TV talk shows, right? I was flying to, Good Morning Houston, Good Day Sacramento, right? All over the country. Got on the shows. I gave 36 speeches at colleges that year. So I literally, you talk about extraordinary effort. I did everything in my power. Literally, there was no stone left unturned to sell 1 million copies of the Miracle Morning. And I fell short of my goal by 987,000 copies. And if you do percentage wise, that's a 98.7% failure rate, right?
It's not the ending to the story that most people anticipate.
Yeah, no, yeah. People were like, whoa, dude, okay, you did it all and you sold 1 million. No, I sold 13,000 copies. Now, if my goal, that's not a bad year for a new author, but relative to what I was trying to do. And so for anybody listening, this is such an important lesson that What are you willing to dedicate 5, 6, 10 years of your life to become an overnight success? And so for me, at the end of that year, I was like, I pulled out the calculator. I go, okay, 1 million copies
Mhm.
divided by 13,000 copies per year. It will take me 76 years to sell 1 million copies at this rate.
Yeah.
Not including the fact that I just did my launch, which is usually the biggest,
The biggest
burst.
bump,
Yeah,
yeah.
you leverage every friendship and every relationship you have, and so so I was a little discouraged because I'm like, okay, I'm 30. I was like 32, so I was like, or 33. I said I'll be 110 years old when I reach the goal. But I prayed about it. I meditated about it, and I was like, and I just go, okay, this miracle equation. The idea is like you maintain unwavering faith
Mhm.
and you put forth extraordinary effort until, for as long as it takes. And so I was like, I dusted myself off and I was like, all right, I'm going for it again. And year two, I did again I was on like, more podcasts year two. I did everything I could and I sold 23,000 copies.
Mhm.
So still nowhere near where I needed to be, but I'm like, okay, a little bit of growth, right? Now I'm only going to be 94 when I hit the goal if I can get this pace going. And so it took 6 years. And the beauty of the story, and this is where you cannot predict or plan the path to success. You can only maintain the unwavering faith on the front end and put forth the extraordinary effort on the front end. And then you see what happens. Because if I hadn't have met this person in year one that led to a relationship in year two, that led to an opportunity in year three, right? All like hindsight, looking back, I go, oh, it had to take 6 years. I had to maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort even after I wasn't even close to my goal. And I had to do it again and again and again and again. Because during that time, I met a book agent that got the book published in 42 languages. It went #1 in Brazil, sold 500,000 copies the first year, which got me halfway to my goal. Like, I couldn't have predicted any of that. And all that happened because I went to a dinner that I was scared to go to because these people were out of my league. It's like your podcast yesterday.
Mhm.
Right? You only grow to what you're exposed to.
Mhm.
And I went to this entrepreneurial dinner with like John Lee Dumas and Mike Koenigs and John Assaraf from The Secret, like all these big players. And I remember my wife's like, how's it going? I was on my phone. I go, dude, I don't know how I got invited to this. Like, I am a nobody. And these are like my heroes,
Yeah.
And one of them during conversation connected with their agent and the rest is history, right? So,
Oh man, it's like the super who's that Ben Hardy talks about is who
yeah,
not how.
yeah.
There's a quote from everything that you just said. One of my coaches gave this to me, and it completely changed my life. Which he said, gradually, comma, then suddenly.
That's it. Yeah.
Gradually, then suddenly, because we're type A heat-seeking missiles of entrepreneurship, right? And
Yeah.
that we get rewarded from the marketplace for being fast and first.
Totally.
But then you have to. Sometimes the journey is the journey. Like the destination is the journey, and you just have to wait and wait and wait. And what people don't understand is like compounding.
Yeah.
They don't get compounding because it's just every single deposit that you put into actions every single day, like that builds up this giant bank, then all of a sudden just compounds. It's not linear.
Yeah.
And so now it's like for you guys to sell another 1 million copies is significantly easier because you have momentum and
Totally.
the plane's taken off from the runway. There's a quote that I want to ask you about specifically. So it's about identity specifically. So I'm working on this concept. So I saw this quote that was amazing. I'm a freaking fortune cookie when it comes to quotes.
You are. I love it, dude.
I just talk in quotes because quotes and stories are how people memorize things,
Yeah.
right? And this concept, this story was talking about if I do the same actions as an athlete, what then is the difference between me and an athlete? If I put on my shoes every morning and I run, what then is the difference between me and a marathon runner? So I really, really liked that. And so it's the idea of immersion yields conversion. If you just do the actions and you do the work repeatedly,
Yeah.
it's like you become that person.
Yeah.
Because there's no difference. You're just doing the same things. So I'm curious, like when it comes to the miracle equation, when you're deciding what actions to do,
Yeah.
how do you have a litmus test to determine like, are you actually running in the right direction? Are you actually doing the correct actions that the marathon runner, that the artist, that the athlete, that the best-selling author would be doing?
Yeah.
Or are you running the 1,000,000 miles in the wrong direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think the shortcut is modeling, right? It's just going, okay, what have other people done? When I came up with that concept, miracle equation, I was a sales rep for Cutco Cutlery. I was, again, 21. I'd been in the company for 2 years, and I was trying to break a record, something no one had ever done before in a 50-year history of the company. And so there was a ton of self-doubt, like, what if, how am I going to do this? And the night before, the first day of it was a 10-day sales contest. And I go, okay, let's reverse engineer this. Let's fast forward 10 days. Imagine if I had gotten there, what would I have had to do? And at that point, I know the general ideas. I've got to make phone calls, right? I've got the number of appointments I schedule, right? And I've got to also close on bigger orders,
Correct.
right? If I start with a $500 order, I'm probably going to sell a $100 order, right? The law of contrast. If I start with a $2,000 order, I might land at 1,200 or 900, right? So like these are the things I'm running through, like just the numbers of like, okay, more appointments, larger average order size. But I reverse engineered and I went, okay, 10 days from now, if I will, let's say this miracle happened where I achieved this seemingly impossible goal, what would I have to do every day between now and then? What decisions would I have to make tonight before tomorrow starts? And those are the two. I was like, well, I'm going to have a lot of doubt. I know I am. I'm going to have a lot of I'm not going to be on track. I'm going to have no sales. I'm going to be rejected. So I'm going to face doubt. I've got to override the doubt with unwavering faith. So I've got to make that as a conscious decision. And then I've got to put forth extraordinary effort because I know that when I'm not on track for a goal, right? I've been there, done that. The wind goes out of your sails. Like the motivation fades as soon as you're putting forth the effort and you're not getting the results. You're like, what's the point? So I've got to maintain unwavering faith and I've got to put forth extraordinary effort, go above and beyond whether I feel like it or not. And the unwavering faith piece, by the way, that's a little elusive. People are like, well, how do you do that? I had a mantra. I am committed to selling $20,000 of Cutco in the next 10 days, no matter what. There is no other option. And I said it over and over and over. I literally said it hundreds and hundreds of times. I would drive to the appointment and go, I am committed to selling $20,000 of Cutco in the next 10 days, no matter what. There is no other option, right? And that is the miracle. I call it the miracle mantra in the Miracle Equation book, right? I am committed to blank, whatever that is for you. And it could be, by the way, it could be an outcome or it could be an activity. So I'm committed to exercising 30 minutes a day, because I want to lose weight.
Every day, no matter what.
There's no other option. Or you could say, I'm committed to running this marathon on this. Like I ran an ultra marathon years later, and it was like, I'm committed to running 52 consecutive miles on October 29th, 2009, no matter what. There is no other option. And then step 2 of my affirmations formula that I use and that I teach is, in order to do that, I will follow the training plan that I've committed to, like, no matter, right? So it's like, what's the outcome I was committed to? And then what's the effort that I was committed to?
You know what I think is the difference between people that succeed and the ones that kind of fall to the wayside is what you're saying is the fuel that you're choosing to put into the machine. And so when you're talking about that, when I hear that, people, I think, mistakenly try to use confidence as the fuel to the machine, but they haven't earned the confidence yet through a large enough body of work and action.
Yeah.
So that fuel is missing. And so your tank is empty, and then all of a sudden you don't have the confidence, imposter syndrome creeps in, and then therefore you don't do it. But what you're saying is courage as the fuel, because you're saying is like, hey, like, courage is a decision.
Yeah.
And like the mantra is a decision. And I've been waiting to tell you this because I didn't want to tell you any of this prior to the podcast, but I did exactly what you're talking about. And I don't talk about it on the podcast at all, but I was sitting in the basement of the house hack of my rental properties. So I would buy single family homes in Atlanta, Georgia, North Atlanta every single year. I'd save up my money from a high paying corporate job. I'd buy a house. I'd live in the basement. I'd rent the upstairs out. So I've owned a lot of houses, but I've never felt what it's like to be a homeowner.
Okay.
Because the nice parts are all rented out and I'm living in the basement with no windows. And I was sitting in there and I would just wrote out every single day in my journal. I wrote out like, I am committed to generating $20,000 a month in income, remote. I called it remote scalable income instead of passive income. I hadn't heard the word cash flow yet, but I was like, I'm committed, no matter what, there's no other option, to generating $20,000 of remote scalable income by March of 2022. Like, I'm committed.
Now, had you read the Miracle Equation, or
yes.
were you just do? Oh, you had. Okay,
yeah.
You literally.
I read the book.
Okay, yeah.
And I applied the book.
Let's go.
I applied it. Yeah, I do this crazy thing called actually applying
what you learned, weirdo.
I know, right? It's crazy idea.
It's way easier to just read books and then read more books.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna read a book. I'm gonna read a book a week, and then that's my badge of honor, brother. Like, do you know how long it took to implement Atomic Habits?
Yeah.
Come on. And so I did that, and then March 2022, I hit the goal. And it's not in a way that I anticipated, but the actions were the correct actions. And I wanted to ask you that specific question because modeling is so important.
Yeah.
And people, like, they get lost in the tyranny of how. Like, how do I do something? How do I do it? How do I do it? And what you said, and I remember back from your Cutco days, is you modeled.
Yeah.
And even when I read that part of the book, I said, well, who's the top person in my company at the time?
Nice.
And I went and found that person and I modeled their behaviors.
Yeah.
And then I modeled the behaviors of David Osborne, who's a
Yeah.
mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
And then I learned about real estate investing. And then from that, I was able to quit my job, start traveling around the world full time, and build up my company today.
Nice.
And so it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
TLDR.
It works.
So we're talking about the importance of a large amount of work, a large amount of extraordinary effort, unwavering faith, unwavering
Over an
confidence.
extended period of time.
Over an extended period of time. So with that being true, a question that I think about a lot, and I'm curious about your perspective on, is what work is worth working on? Because I feel like the end result doesn't really matter as much because 98% of life is the actual work that you're choosing to do.
Yeah.
And I think that instead of people having the pursuit of not working, it's a better pursuit to, instead of working on work that you're forced to do, the goal is to work on work that you choose to work on.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about what work is worth working on to you and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And it definitely has evolved over time as I've become a dad and I went through cancer and it's like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Like, are my priorities are really in line with what I value? And so it's definitely evolved. In terms of what work is worth working on, I do think there are stages of life, like, meaning that sometimes the end does justify the means, right? They say, I saw a meme the other day. It's like, it was the idea that find something that you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. Right. And they're like, I love to drink beer and watch Netflix. It's like, that's not going to get me where I want to go.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I will say that you taking responsibility for generating the enthusiasm for whatever you're doing because you're doing it not just for the end, but to become the person that you need to be who can achieve everything else that you want for your life. And I'll give you an example. When I started selling Cutco, I was 19 years old and I was a DJ on the radio. So I was living my dream job. Like that was my dream job. I planned on being a nationally syndicated radio DJ. I had a mobile DJ business where I was doing weddings and school dances.
I did that too.
Oh, you did? You really?
I was called Greek Beats DJ Entertainment.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But I loved every moment of all of that, right? Like I loved that. That was work I did not feel like working, right?
Yeah.
Other than carrying in my DJ equipment, which was it was just fun. And being on the radio was fun. And then I got the opportunity to sell Cutco. I got interviewed and at first I didn't want to, I was like, I'm not going to sell knives. Like I'm not a salesperson, I'm a DJ. And then I found out, you set your own schedule so I could work around the DJ, but there's no limit to your income. There's no ceiling. Like this is a commission job. You get a base pay, but you can earn as much as you want based on what you're willing to work. And the skills you're going to learn and the mindset you'll develop will enable you to achieve everything else you want in your life. So I just spoke at a Cutco event. I haven't sold Cutco for 20 years. I spoke at a Cutco event the other day. Wow, 20 years, crazy. And I was telling them, I go, y'all took this job to make money. That's not why you're here. The real opportunity here is to develop the mindset and the habits and the skills that will enable you to become the person that you need to be to create the life that you ultimately want. I said, so if you can go, instead of I'm working to make money, that's not very inspiring. I'm working to become the person I need to be. And then that way, let's say you don't feel like working. Well, what would the person that you aspire to become do even when they don't feel like it, knowing that there's purpose behind it, right? So it's the idea of everything that we do is, to me, the ultimate purpose is to become the person that you need to be to continue growing and evolving. One of my favorite authors, Matthew Kelly, calls it just becoming the best version of yourself, because that's the purpose of everything in life, is to become the best version of yourself. And every decision, every choice, you get to choose. All right, which one of these two choices, laying in bed or going to the gym, will help me become the best version of myself? And if that's your litmus test, you're like, oh, I'm going to the gym. Ooh, I really want to eat junk food right now. Or I could eat this healthy food that would fuel my body. Which will help me become the best version of myself? Oh, it's obvious, right? And if that can become your litmus test in every decision that you make, you can't fail. You just keep becoming better and better and better and achieving more and more and more.
Yeah, it's funny because some people may struggle to say, like, okay, what is the best decision to make? And the pretty good litmus test to your point is what everyone has the most short-term pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever option is the more difficult in the
Is
short term and
usually
the
the
more
right
immediate
one. Yeah.
is normally
Yeah.
the right one. It's pay now or play later, or play now and pay later.
Well, another one that you can take this quote and add it to your bank. One of my
Bring it.
mentors when I was in Cutco, he was actually the division manager, Brad Britton, and he said, the secret to success is really simple. Do what's right, not what's easy. And he said,
Mhm.
what's right is whatever moves you toward your goals, your outcomes, becoming the best version of yourself, right? But so that for me is like that's been the default mantra of my whole life is like, I don't feel like this. Oh yeah, I'm someone that does what's right, not what's easy. Okay, let's go.
Mhm. Mm. I want to transition to a point of massive reflection for you, which is now we talked about the 6 year
Mm.
journey of every single step, one more day, one more action, one more tactic to get to where you wanted to go. I want to talk about the 6 days and the 6 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
6 days of coma and 6 minutes of not being alive,
Yeah,
insane, right? So I will use another quote to frame
let's
this,
go.
and that is that hell on earth would be to meet the man that I could have been.
Mm.
And so I'm curious, when you went through, let's start with 6 minutes before 6 days,
Yeah,
because you got into the car accident before the cancer.
yeah.
Talk about how you viewed time and how you viewed your own potential, your own mortality going through that. Because I can only imagine that you have a completely different viewpoint after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a year and a half into my Cutco career, right?
Yeah.
So I had broken some sales records, and I was actually the night of the accident, I was giving a speech at a division meeting in Cutco, probably 40 of my peers, and got my first standing ovation. So it was like this high that night. Like I called my mom and dad, I got a standing ovation, and then went out to dinner with my girlfriend at the time and a bunch of friends after the meeting. And then it was like 11:30 at night, roughly, and driving home in my Ford Mustang. I just bought my first new car 3 weeks prior with my commissions, earned the money, bought the car, and a drunk driver got on the freeway going the wrong way and hit me head on at 70 miles an hour. And another car hit me in the door at 70 miles an hour. And I was found dead at the scene, as you mentioned. Heart stopped for 6 minutes. I broke 11 bones. So my femur broke in half. My eye socket was shattered. My elbow was shattered. My arm broke in half, literally in 2 pieces. And when they pulled me out of the car, my heart had stopped for 6 minutes. I was in a coma immediately, right? So I think that's the body's protection, where like the pain was so immense that thank God I was immediately in a coma. So I wasn't, at least not to my conscious awareness, feeling all the pain I was going through with all these broken bones. And I was airlifted to the hospital and spent 6 days in a coma, flatlined twice more. And my parents, by the way, to me had the worst in all of this. Like now being a dad, especially going, oh my God, to watch your kids go through this and be like, they were by my bedside watching me flatline,
Mm.
not knowing if I was going to wake up. I was in critical condition, not knowing if I would walk again. And 6 days later, I came out of the coma. And parents, happy that, okay, he's out of the coma, but it's going to be a long road to recovery. And I had to face this unimaginable reality. Like, wait, what happened? I was in a car accident. Like my arms in a sling, my eyes bandaged up, my legs in a sling, and like only half my body moves. Like, so wait, I'm never going to walk again, is what they told me. I have permanent brain damage. They don't know if I'll ever be able to use my left hand again. Like, it was really bad. And the wildest part about it is how within a few days I was totally at peace. Totally at peace.
How?
It's something I learned in my Cutco sales training, interestingly enough. And I just said this yesterday that I was talking to somebody and I was saying, ironically, if I hadn't have sold Cutco, I wouldn't have been giving the speech and in that car accident. Yet had I not started selling Cutco, I wouldn't have had the tools to be able to be at peace with the car accident when it happened, right? So it all feels like it was all meant to be, if you will. But I had learned something in my Cutco sales training called the 5-minute rule.
Changed my life.
Oh, the 5-minute rule? Yeah, I love it. I know, I'm thinking like my next book. I actually want to write the 5-minute rule, but Mel Robbins wrote the 5-second rule, and I feel like everyone would think it was a ripoff. So I'm trying to figure out what to call the book. But anyway, the challenges authors deal with. The 5-minute rule was it's okay to be negative when things go wrong, but don't waste your time. Set your timer for 5 minutes and give yourself 5 minutes to feel your emotions fully. Bitch, moan, complain, cry, feel sorry for yourself, be a victim, like whatever. Don't try to put on a happy face or respond the way you think you should. Just feel it. But you set the timer for 5 minutes to give you that space. And then when the timer goes off, you say 3 very liberating words, which are can't change it. It's a simple acknowledgement. Okay, I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So right now I got a choice. I can either continue to dwell on it and wish it didn't happen and feel like a victim and say it's not fair and be angry or upset. Does that serve me to move forward? Probably not. Or I can accept it. Can't change it. I'm going to accept my reality exactly as it is and then focus on what I can change. And an important distinction here and this is really a Eckhart Tolle Buddhist teaching, which is resistance is the source of all emotional pain. Or said another way, resisting reality, wishing that reality were different, causes our emotional pain, not reality itself. So you take two people that experience the same tragedy or challenge, car accident, cancer, divorce, bankruptcy, whatever. And person number one, you go, hey man, how are you doing? And they're resisting reality. They go, oh man, this isn't fair. I don't deserve this. This isn't the plan I had for my life. And to the degree they resist reality is the degree they create emotional pain for themselves. Right? And they're like, it's not fair. I don't deserve it. No, it's killing me inside. Right? Person number two, exact same experience. And you go, wow, are you struggling as bad? And they go, well, no, I can't change it. So there's really no point in wishing it didn't happen or wishing that my life were any different than it actually is. This is my reality. So I can either resist it and create emotional pain, or I can accept it and choose peace. And so because I had learned that a year and a half prior and I had practiced it in much easier circumstances, granted, traffic every day. Oh, I'm mad. Oh, wait, I can't change it. I'm in traffic. I might as well enjoy every moment. Right? I had the biggest order in my Cutco career, celebrating all day. And then that night she calls and cancels it. The later, it's like, no. All right, timer for 5 minutes. Then it's like, all right, well, that sucks, but I can't change it. There's no point in dwelling on it and wishing she didn't cancel the order. It's literally universally applicable to every aspect of life. And so within a few days, now at 5 minutes, I need more than 5 minutes after the car accident, but I'd say within 5 days, maybe less, it was like, okay, what happened? I was hit by a drunk driver. I broke 11 bones. They're saying I'm never going to walk again if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, and I can't change that fact at that time. What am I going to do? I'm going to accept it and be at peace with it. And the doctors thought I was in denial because I was so happy and upbeat and positive, I wasn't in denial. It was the opposite. I'm like, no. Denial's
You were
not
in complete acceptance and
complete
surrender.
acceptance. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I've decided I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. I'll be the most grateful person you've ever seen in a wheelchair because I'm in a wheelchair either way. That would be my reality. So I accept it. However, I'm going to live the miracle equation until then, meaning I will maintain unwavering faith that I can walk again while I simultaneously accept if I don't.
Ooh. How the hell do you balance that? Because that can be zoomed out to an even larger question, which is how do you balance the ambition for more with the acceptance and presence of today?
Yeah.
Where you can, because that question goes not only from your context for people that are going through hard things, but also people that are driving in entrepreneurship and in general.
Yeah.
That, I think, if we come to some semblance of an answer of that question, everyone's life will be fundamentally better, which is how do you balance the ambition and the drive for more while also being present and enjoying the today?
Yeah.
So what did you come to terms with? How did you learn this?
To put it in a little quote that we can remember and repeat, expect the best, accept the rest. Right? Expect the best and put forth the unwavering faith and extraordinary effort to create the best, and then accept the rest, accept what happens. A great example was that going back to the 6-year story, right?
Yeah.
I have unwavering faith that I can sell 1 million books this year, and I'm put forth extraordinary effort. Oh, I sold 13,000 out of the million. I'm 987,000 copies short. That sucks. Set the timer for 5 minutes. I can't believe, dude, I failed miserably. Timer goes off. Whew, can't change it. What can I do now? I'm going to keep moving forward. And when I was in Cutco, I remember the first time I applied the 5-minute rule, I called my manager after I went 0 for 3 my first day. And I'm like, dude, I think I'm not set out. I'm not made for this. I'm embarrassed because I told him I was going to break the all-time company record, and I went 0 for 3 on my first day. Right. So my initial confidence out the door of all right, I'm going to go crush it. And then it's like, no. And I'm like, oh, I guess I can't sell anything. And so I called him and he goes, Hal, how are you feeling? I'm like giving up, man. I'm embarrassed. I told you I was going to break the record. I've got to average 1,300 a day to break this record. And I'm at 0. I'm 0 for 3 on my first, I'm already behind a day. I'm 0. I'm like, so I'm embarrassed. I'm like, I'm discouraged. I don't know. He said, do you want to be successful in life? I was like, that's a rhetorical question. Yes. And he said, okay. He said, what do you think a successful Cutco sales rep or just a successful person would do in this case? And I was like, they would probably accept that they went 0 for 3 on day one, and then they would get on the phone and schedule more appointments for the rest of the week. He's like, you want to do that? Yeah. Right. It was like,
What a wonderful frame, though. I've used that frame. As I asked, what would the 10x
mm,
version? Well, for me today, I'm like, what would the $10 million version of me do?
yeah,
Or like, what would this level business owner of me do? And it's just like, if you take it external and you're like, what would that person do?
yeah.
And then you realize you always had the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. My one of my good friends, Todd Herman, he wrote The Alter Ego Effect,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, are you familiar with that book?
Mm-mm.
Dude, remind me. I'll get him on your show. He's brilliant. He was Kobe Bryant's coach that gave him the alter ego Black Mamba. He was his
Ooh,
mindset coach.
got it.
And he basically studied, Sasha Fierce, Beyonce, right?
Yeah.
Like all these people throughout history that have this alter ego where it's the exact same. You're literally talking about your alter ego. What would this version of me, what would they do? And in this, it was just a generic alter ego that my mentor asked, hey, what would a successful person do? Or a successful cut rep, and I was like, they'd get on the phone. So I got on the phone, I made calls, I sold $3,000 the next day. I was back on, and then the rest is kind of history or whatever. But going back to your initial question, which is like, how do you keep these two opposing ideas in your mind at the same time? That right, like the unwavering faith that you can do the things that you want to do, and the acceptance that if they don't work out. I think the answer in one word is awareness. It's the awareness of what we're talking about, which is like, okay, I'm going to put forth because. Let me iterate here. Most people don't attempt the seemingly impossible goals because they believe the only purpose of the goal is to reach the goal. And one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, and in fact, this is in the Miracle Equation book, right? That the purpose of a goal is not to reach the goal; it's who you become along the way. And that goes back to what I said earlier. It's about becoming the person that you need to be to achieve every other goal. So I didn't achieve my goal of 1 million copies year one, but I developed the mindset, the habits, the skills, the resiliency, the consistency that I got to apply to year 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 that have got me to that goal. And so if you can maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort and accept whatever happens along the way, knowing that our calculations are often wrong, like,
Yeah.
especially with time frame, like, you think everybody wants what they want now, right? They look at you, Brian, and they're like, dude, I want to be doing that level of business right now. And they don't take into consideration. I mean, Tony Robbins has a great quote, right? This is the quote episode, but it's something along the lines of people underestimate what they can do in a year, or they overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right? Or 5 years or whatever. And so it's like living your life in these longer time frames, I think, and going, okay, I'm gonna set a 3-year goal, then I'm gonna or a 10-year goal, break it into a 3, break it into a 1. And then I'm going to maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort toward that 1-year goal. And I'm going to be at peace with whatever happens as long as I do everything I can. Because that's all you can do. Like at the end of year 1, there's nothing else that I'm aware of that I could have done to sell more books. Now, I'm sure I could have I could drive myself crazy overthinking, go, well, but what could I have done? And why, right? And there's some value in that and going, okay, what will I apply to year 2? What will I change? What did I do well that I'm going to keep? What could I do better that I'm going to change? What I'm going to add? What am I going to stop? What didn't work that was a waste of energy? Which was, by the way, getting on TV shows, getting on morning TV shows. That did not move the needle, and it cost me a ton of time, money, and energy to make it happen. So that was something I stopped. I did not pursue that anymore.
Yeah. Discipline your disappointment.
Expand on that. I'm not.
So that's what you're talking about. So, and that's another Tony quote. That's not a me quote.
Okay.
Discipline your disappointment, which is, it's like you're disciplining the amount of time that you're allowing yourself to be disappointed.
I like
you're
that.
saying, okay,
The
cool.
5-minute rule. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally the 5-minute rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying, and this has changed my life, man. Like I've used this so many times. I used to be somebody that, like, I think this is like a happiness muscle. If anything, it's just like learning to discipline your disappointment, because the longer that you let that guy that cut you off in traffic piss you off, or the longer you like you got passed up on a promotion, the longer that you simmer in that, like it's not serving you. So it's just like condensing that into, okay, cool. How can I get this from being pissed off for a week to a day to an hour to 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can I change it? Nope. Can't change it. Move on. Get on with your life.
Yeah.
Have you read The Surrender Experiment?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I would assume.
Yeah.
And in that book, he talks about like the root of unhappiness, like you're saying, is having an idea of how things are supposed to be, and then reality, and having a discrepancy between the two. But
Yeah.
we pull how things are supposed to be out of freaking thin air.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I am a person that deals a lot with anxiety.
Mm.
It's like the number one thing that I am actively working on.
Mm.
I don't suffer with anxiety. I don't like when people put labels on themselves.
Yeah.
And I've improved. My issue, and when I read your book and when I hear your story, my issue is whenever things are going well for me, I have a tendency to kind of like slow down, and I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, what's about to come get me? This is going too good.
Yeah.
This is too easy.
Yeah.
I hear all these guys on the podcast. I hear all these war stories and these horror stories about all this stuff happening. But like my life's been pretty good. It's like I haven't gotten in a car crash. I haven't gotten like cancer, God forbid. And it's just like, what's coming to get me?
Yeah.
And McConaughey actually had a quote in Green Lights, like a story where he was like, when you're running downhill, don't slow down, just keep running. Don't like slow down and look behind you. And I'm curious, man, as somebody that's just survived more than what most humans have gone through twice, how do you enjoy the good times without always be like looking over your shoulder for, okay, cool, this happened twice, like what's coming next?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is where, honestly, manifesting comes up for me on the opposite end, meaning manifesting what you are afraid of and what you don't want. And
that's another fear. It adds to the anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop thinking about this.
You're going to create this.
Yeah.
So, by the way, my answer to that would be affirmations, right? So one of the most important practices of the Miracle Morning are affirmations, but not in the way that most people have been taught affirmations. Most people have been taught like you affirm, I am awesome, I am capable, I am fantastic, right? Like
I am rich.
Yeah. I am rich, even though you're
brother. I've got $10.
yeah, exactly, right. Which and that's the thing is there's two problems with affirmations. Is we're either taught to lie to ourselves, right? Like which is like, okay, you're broke, just say I'm wealthy, over and over and over until you like. But every time you go, I'm wealthy. You look at your bank account, you're like, this isn't even true. So affirmations have to be rooted in truth. That's number one. The second problem with affirmations, the way they've been taught, is that we're taught to use this flowery passive language that promises a magical result independent of any effort, right? For example, I am a money magnet. Money flows to me effortlessly and in abundance, right? It's a very popular affirmation. And the reason I believe it is because it's like taking a shot of tequila or an antidepressant, right? Where
some dopamine.
Yeah, it's some
cheap dopamine.
Yeah. You're you look at your bank account balance on your phone and you're like, oh man, I'm negative, or I'm at 100.
Why is the money not magneting?
I'm going to do my affirmations, and you're like, I'm a money magnet. And what that does is that it gives temporary relief. Oh, that feels better. And I'm deluding myself into thinking that money's going to magically show up in my life because I'm affirming it. I don't believe affirmations work that way. For me, affirmations have to be, again, rooted in truth and actionable and practical. So there's 3 steps when I write affirmations. Step 1, affirm what I'm committed to. Similar to that, I'm committed to blank. No matter what, there's no other option. Number 2, affirm why it's a must for me. And that's an important, often overlooked step in general, right? Which is like, why are you committed to that? Because if you go, I'm committed to making $1 million, and you're not clear on deep, meaningful, non-negotiable whys that are so important in terms of financial freedom for my family, buying my mom a house, right? Like relieving, whatever it is. You got to have your whys. Simon Sinek wrote the book, The Power of Why. Like that's a crucial part. So that's step 2, the affirmation formula, which is after you affirm what you're committed to, it's why. And for me, the why is always usually like 3 to 5 bullet points. And this is how I beat cancer, by the way. I think this was the anchor of how I beat cancer is I had an affirmation. I was afraid every day that what if I die of cancer? For you, like, what if, right? My cancer was a 30% survival rate. My son was 4 years old and my daughter was 7. So for a doctor to say, and by the way, when I got the cancer, it wasn't like you have a slow growing tumor. I was in the hospital draining a liter of fluid out of my lung. And they're like, oh, you have this really rare aggressive cancer. Your organs are shutting down. Your heart is on the verge of failing. In fact, they had to jab a thick needle through my heart or through my chest. There was a sack of fluid around the heart that was compressing it. And they said it was dangerously close to being my heart ceasing and not beating anymore. So I had to sign a waiver that said if they put the needle 1/8 of an inch too deep, it would pierce my heart and cause cardiac arrest. So they had to be very careful to drain the fluid. So, right, so this is the stage I was at. I've got a needle in my chest. They're draining my lung. My kidneys are failing. And they say you have a 30% chance of surviving if you don't start chemo tomorrow. No, sorry. If you start chemo, you have a 30% chance of surviving. If you don't, you have a week to live. That's what I was told. And so it's like, I've got 2 small children, like what? And I told my doctor, hey, give me 24 hours to like do a little research. Like this is a lot of information. And I reached out to 2 of the best holistic oncologists in America, and that help cure cancer naturally, because I didn't want to go through 700 hours of chemo. Like the reason there's a 30% survival rate is because this particular cancer, they give you so much chemo to try to beat it that it kills you. The chemo, not the cancer, right? So it's one or the other. So I wanted to go as natural as I could. So I reached out to the best holistic oncologists in the country. They both say, this particular cancer, chemo is the only thing that you can do. There's nothing natural we can do for you. We can help you rebuild after the chemo. But there's nothing. So I'm like, well, if the best holistic oncologists in the country are saying I have to do the chemo, like I'm not going to go rogue and be like, nope, I'm just going to go drink green juice,
I'm going to affirmation my way out of this. Yeah.
So I said yes to the chemo, but, and this is an important, benefit or side note, I think most people, if they get cancer, they're like, all right, doc, save me. For me, it was like, hey, doc, you're a member of my team, but this is my team. I'm running the show, and I'm going to take 100% responsibility for healing my cancer. And so if I'm doing the chemo, which was like, I don't want to, but it sounds like that's the only option, I'm going to do every holistic practice known to man. I'm going to relentlessly research and implement. And I did coffee enemas, ozone sauna, red light therapy, sun gazing, grounding, 70 supplements a day, nutrition. I mean, you name it. Not to mention my entire miracle morning, all 6 savers. And for anybody watching that doesn't know what those are, the savers are the acronym that represent the miracle morning. S for silence, it's your meditation or prayer. A for affirmations, V for visualization, E for exercise, R for reading, and S for scribing. So all of a sudden, I'm only reading books on natural ways to beat cancer. Every day I'm journaling. I'm writing down what I'm grateful for and what I'm committed to doing that day to beat cancer, whether I feel like it or not. I'm meditating in a state of complete healing. I'm praying for guidance and for healing. And then the affirmations piece. Step 1, I'm committed to beating cancer no matter what. There is no other option. And it was actually been a little longer. It was I'm committed to beating cancer and living a long, happy, healthy life with Ursula and the kids no matter what. There is no other option. And every day I was afraid. So this is like a big answer to your question. Every day it was like, but what if I die? I found out that Wayne Dyer, you know who Wayne Dyer is? Mm-hmm. So Wayne Dyer is someone that I admired. I went to his lectures, when I was younger. Like he was someone I looked up to, much older and wiser than me, much spiritual. And I found out Wayne Dyer died of leukemia. I'm like, wait a minute, dude. If
my idol went out this
my
way.
idol died of leukemia, and now I have leukemia. If he couldn't beat it with all his ninja mind tricks, so like there was so much fear. When I read that, I was like, and that was early on, like really, I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? So I realized, okay, I'm afraid. And then when you're going through chemo, you're sick. When you're sick, even with a cold or flu, you think your negative thinking just, pervades your consciousness. So I realized I need my miracle morning to save my life. And so the affirmations, step 1, what I was committed to beating cancer. Step 2, I had 5 reasons why. And this is so important. I'm going to list what they are because I want people to create their affirmations. Like if you do nothing else from this podcast, but create your miracle morning affirmations following this formula, it'll be a game changer. Step 1, what you're committed to. Step 2 is the why. I'm committed to beating cancer for Ursula because I promised her forever and a day. Something in our wedding vows. I'm committed to beating cancer for Sophia and Halston because they need their daddy's love, guidance, and leadership. And there's no other option but for me to watch them grow up and be a grandfather someday. I'm committed to beating cancer for my mom and dad because they already almost lost me once, and they do not deserve to lose a child, and I will not do that to them. I'm committed to cancer for myself because, damn it, I deserve to live a long, happy, healthy life. And then reason number 5, last but not least, I am committed to beating cancer for the millions of people who are themselves battling cancer or some other disease and may not have the knowledge and resources that I've been blessed with. And it's my responsibility to beat this cancer so I can empower them to overcome their challenges in their life. And every day, when I was afraid, what if I die, over my shoulder, and this is my answer to your question, is to have affirmations that remind you oh, I'm committed to my success continuing no matter what. There's no other option. This is a must for me because of these reasons. And step 3 is, um, it is which actions you will take and when you will take them to ensure that you are putting forth that extraordinary effort to create the result. So for me, it was I will combine the best of Western medicine, chemotherapy, and Eastern medicine. And I had an entire page of under my affirmations of like, here's all the protocols that I am committed to. Number 1, reading. Number 2, right? So my entire miracle morning and my affirmations were dedicated to the outcome that was the most important in my life. And it came to fruition. And I could tell you story after story of, selling 1 million books. I had the affirmations for that. And then beating cancer and then, doing this and that. Like that affirmations formula is the anchor of the miracle morning, because when I read that, then I just align the rest of the savers with those statements. And I'll add one thing to that for you, which is like my affirmations, there's that formula, but affirmations are just reminders. So there's loose, there's extra notes and the point being like, you intellectually know that there's no value in you dwelling in fear of what could go wrong for you. So reminding yourself of that, that might be one of the reasons, right? Is I'm committed to, not living in fear of what could go wrong and focusing on all the amazing things I have to be right. And then the whys, it could be like, because there's no value in dwelling on what could go wrong and manifesting that. So I'm not going to waste my energy on that anymore. Right. And then number 2, there are countless people in life who have not gone through horrific experiences, and I'm going to be one of them. Right. And I'll share one other thing. When I was diagnosed with the cancer and given a 30% survival rate, my wife was understandably terrified. And I remember it was like the first day I was diagnosed, and we were talking, and I said, "Sweetheart, I know you're scared, but I want you to know, I know you're looking at this 30% survival rate, and you're fixated on that number, and you're going, that means there's a 70% chance that my husband's going to die." And I said, "I'm thinking of it differently. My mindset is there's a 100% chance that I will be among the 30% of the people that survive the cancer, because I'll do everything that they did and more." And so in that way, you create your own statistic, right? So model the people that have created and lived the life that you want, and you'll have the same thing.
Damn. Man, that was crazy. First off, glad that you're still here, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. I'm digesting. Sometimes it's good on a podcast to just like,
That's it, man. Let
people digest for a second, man, because that's super powerful. I just was at I'm big in the Tony world, so I'm in his Platinum Partners.
Podcast, yeah.
And we just left Business Mastering. He talked about the importance of the 3 S's: state, story, strategy. And so even in my field of work, where we try to help people, well, we don't try as the cuss word. We help people like buy businesses and commercial real estate so that they can ultimately achieve financial freedom. And we give them the strategy, we give them the strategy, we give them the strategy. For some reason, we're like, hey, why are you not calling the brokers? Why are you not doing the DAOs? Why are you not underwriting the properties? And people can apply this to any other modality that they want to. And we realize, oh my God, we're missing freaking 66% of the equation, which is the other 2 parts of this, the 2/3, which is the state and the story. So the story that they're telling themselves is, I don't deserve this. I can't do this. This is for richer people, smarter people, better people, not me. Who am I to deserve this? And then the state that they're in is they're coming home tired, pissed off from work, all this other stuff. And the last like little 10% of energy that they have, they're putting it towards their freedom. And so what you're describing through how you're saying it and in other words is literally like that. It's your state. You're starting your morning with your state. You're saying there is no other option. Like the only version of me that is capable of overcoming this is this version. And if I'm not in this state, and if I'm not this person, this isn't going to happen. This is a must. It's not a nice to have. It's a need to have. And then your story that you're telling yourself every day is you're just repeating it. You're saying, okay, cool. Reality is telling me one story. I'm choosing another story. This is the story I'm telling myself, which by the time it comes to the strategy, the how, you have so much reinforcement to actually keep pushing you through. So if you could take all of this away, like if you took everything that you've ever talked about, all the books you've ever written, all the content that you've ever made, and you can only leave people with one piece of advice that are going through something that is just like astronomically terrible and really hard to deal with, what's the piece of advice that you would give them to make it through?
I mean, I think I would recap some of what we've talked about today, which is the unwavering faith, the extraordinary effort. And then if you look at the 6 years, what I learned from that is that when you finally get to the point in your life or your marriage or your business, whatever aspect of your life, when you finally get to the point that you've been working so hard for so long, you only get there if you maintained unwavering faith to get there and you put forth extraordinary effort to get there. But the important lesson on top of that is that when you do finally get there, you never wish it would have happened any sooner. You arrive and you look back, you go, oh, it had to take 6 years or five or 10 or whatever. And you go, and you're at
Mhm.
peace. And so you're like, oh, I had to meet person number one and person number that led to this and led to that. And the timing, they say God's timing is always perfect. I mean,
God's
um,
delays are not God's denials.
yeah, yeah, and there you go. And so yeah, if you really look at what that for me, what that hindsight, like looking ahead, going, okay, yeah, when I finally get there, the timing will be perfect because everything has to unfold the way it's supposed to. So if you can fast forward to there and look back, the lesson you bring into the present moment is, okay, so I'm going to maintain unwavering faith that I can eventually get to any and every goal I set. I'm going to put forth extraordinary effort. And knowing that the timing will be perfect, I'm going to maintain urgency every day to move forward and put forth that effort. But I'm going to be at peace with where I'm at. I'm going to stop wishing I was further along or I was where this guy is or this guy, right? I'm just going to love every moment and enjoy this journey and be at peace with where I am and not wish it was happening any sooner because the timing is always perfect.
Be patient with the results, impatient with the actions.
Yeah.
I love like urgency is everything that you're talking about, and you know Brandon Turner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was just with him too,
Nice.
and then he told me a story that I really love too, which is I don't want to go to heaven well rested. I
Hmm.
think it's actually a Tim Tebow quote,
I like that.
and so like as you were talking about that, I was like, well, damn, like even if the worst case did happen, you
Yeah.
could at least say I gave them all.
That's it. That's
There's
it.
there's nothing left I had in the tank. There's nothing left to put on the table.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else that happens. And as you're talking about that, it's funny because one of the key ideas of the book, The Surrender Experiment, which I highly recommend
Yeah.
everybody that's listening and watching to this read or listen to, is that we ask for all of these traits and characteristics and qualities like strength, grit, courage, perseverance, all this different stuff. But
Yeah.
if you're not positioned with the experiences to become strong, to become courageous, to
Yeah.
become resilient, you're not going to develop those traits.
Yeah.
And so all of these traits all of these instances, you had opportunities to become courageous, you had opportunities to become strong, you had opportunities to become resilient, and then you lived up to them. And
Yeah.
because life, all this stuff is happening. And if it's just how you choose to frame it. So I'm curious, now that you've gone through the ultimate, like you've faced it and you're like, okay, I am like the pinnacle of resilience. Like there's like this is kind of it, man. Like you're throwing just about everything that you can at me, knock on wood, but it's just
Yeah.
like what do you work on now? How do you have all these lessons that you learned at Cutco
Hmm.
and you applied them to the car accident, you applied them to cancer. How do you take the lessons from the car accident, the cancer, and Cutco
Yeah.
now into what you're choosing to work on and pursue now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that right. It's kind of like you and you're listing off this quote and that quote. It's like those are all of those lessons and all of those
Yeah.
attributes that are developed are stored in our subconscious mind, part of who we are, and then they come out as needed, right? For me, I mean, it really does go back to the miracle morning is the most important part of my life, and not more than my kids or anything, but in terms of like my practices, my strategies for success, the miracle morning is what enables me to every single day ensure that I start the day in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state so that I can be the best version of myself to go approach whether it's Saturday morning with my family or it's Monday through Friday and going into work and impacting people in the best way that I can. That miracle morning is that anchor. And the beauty of it too is when you have a bad day, um, it's like usually for people, the bad day lingers and it goes into the next, into the next, into the next. Well, for me, it's like the miracle morning is a reset button every day.
Mhm.
When I created it was 2008. The reason it's called the miracle morning, quick story, I don't tell this all the time, which is like 2008, I was in debt right? It was the Great Recession. My business was failing. My house was being foreclosed on. I had lost over half of my clients, half of my income. I was depressed. I was scared. I was using the 5-minute rule every day, but I was losing more clients. I'm like, I can't
Using
even.
it every day.
Yeah, I'm
You're
like,
like, bro, it's 5 minutes every 5 minutes.
Yeah, every 5 minutes. Literally, that's like what it was. And I couldn't keep up. I'm like, can't change. It was out of control. So, and then a buddy of mine gave me advice to listen to this Jim Rohn audio. I'm like, I need help, dude. I'm struggling. He goes, listen to this Jim Rohn audio. It changed my mindset, changed my life. I was like, all right, I'll try it. And so I listened to this audio, and Jim Rohn said, your level of success, and the context was in any area of life, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. And when he said that, I might have heard the quote before, but like it hit, and I rewound it and I listened again. Your level of success, okay, level of success. And in my mind, I quantify things, right? So I'm like, all right, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Level of success, I want 10. I want level 10 health, level 10 happiness, level 10 finances. I want level 10 success. Okay, my level of success will rarely exceed my level of personal development. So the question was like, and for anybody listening or watching, ask yourself this question. What level of success do you want? It's a 10. Nobody is like, I don't want to be too happy or healthy or successful, right? Everybody wants 10. But then what's my level of personal development? Because if it's not at a 10 in terms of my daily personal development rituals, routines, and habits, then my level of success is going to be pulled down by it. And at that time, I was like, my level of personal development is like a 2. Like I'm in desperation mode. I'm like, I wake up, I go into my office, I just work until my eyeballs bleed, looking at the computer, calling people, and then I go to bed. And I just do that every day. And it's like, it's just exhausting. And so I wasn't engaged in personal development. And I think for people that are, you have to ask yourself, are you reading the books and then implementing what you're reading? Or are you reading the books to read the books and then read the next book, right?
Vanity metric.
Yeah. And so for me, I was like, my level of personal development is at a 2. Yet I want level 10 success. And if anybody's watching this on YouTube, like this is the disconnect, right? This is what we want. But if this is who we're being every day and who we're becoming, huge disconnect. We've got to develop ourselves into a level 10 version of who we are, who we aspire to be, with the habits, the mindset, the skill sets, the resilience to create that level 10 success. And so that was my epiphany. I went, I've got to go figure out what the world's most successful people do for personal development every day and do that. I got to model them. And I went home and I Googled, what do the world's most successful people do for personal development? And I was looking for like, what's one personal development practice? And I had a list of 6. It was meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling. Meditation became silence. Journaling became scribing, and that became the savers, because the voice of God was like, I was like, which one of these is the best? It depends on who you ask. Some people say it was the books they read that led to their success. Some say it was their affirmations. Some say it was their visualization. A lot of pro athletes are like, that's the key. That's how I won the championship. I saw myself doing it over and over, and then I lived into the vision. I'm like, what do I do? And the little whisper was like, dude, what if you did all of these? What if instead of picking one of the practices, you woke up tomorrow a little earlier, could be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Eventually it became an hour and even longer for me because there was so much juice from it. But what if you woke up a little earlier, Hal, and you did the 6 most timeless, proven personal development practices that not 1 or 2, but the world's most successful people in all walks of life, from millionaires and billionaires and CEOs to professional athletes, the world's most successful people have sworn by for centuries. These aren't new. These are timeless. These are proven. What if you did all 6 of them? That would be the ultimate personal development routine. And within 2 months and I wasn't a morning person, but I'm like, I got to change something. I got to change my life. Within 2 months of doing these 6 morning practices, I doubled my income at the height of the Great Recession. The economy was tanking, and everybody else was like, oh, business is failing. I can't get customers. But I applied all 6 savers, and it started with reading. I got a book called Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port, and how to book more clients. Then I put in my affirmations. I created the affirmations formula, right? And within 2 months, I doubled my income, and I went to my wife in the hall. I can picture the moment. She's carrying laundry out of our bedroom, and I said, sweetheart, I just signed on 2 coaching clients. She goes, congratulations. I said, no. You understand. We've officially doubled our income in the last 2 months since I started that morning routine. It feels like a freaking miracle. And without skipping a beat, she goes, it's your miracle morning. I go, I like that miracle morning, but I didn't know it'd be a book.
Shout out Ursula.
Shout out Ursula, dude. And she reminds me, she's like, I get half of all of this.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Yeah. But so I started writing my schedule every day, miracle morning. Then I'm like, I got to tell my coaching clients about this. And then that's how it's like one after another. Like, oh my God, I'm not a morning person. Then they try it. They're like, I did your tricks. I moved the alarm clock across the room. I did the savers. It works. And then that's when I was like, well, if it worked for them, it worked for me. We weren't morning people. This is universally life changing. I have to share it with the world. And that's what led to the book and the app and the movie and all the other, Miracle Morning attributes.
And now you've had how many millions of people do the Miracle Morning?
Yeah, I mean, with 3 or 4 million books sold, and when we have just on the app alone, we have what 30,000 daily users on the app. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, I know that it's a lot of people. I don't know the exact number, but yeah,
That's amazing.
it's in the millions.
How do you feel that morning routines have become a little bit perverted, in the media today? Because you have this side of it, and then you have the other side, which is, and granted, like I need to go back to this.
Yeah.
Like it's something that you should do,
Yeah,
and then you still wake up and you're like, all right, time to get to work.
yeah,
Like this morning, I woke up and I was like, all right, cool, time to get to work. I'm prepping for Hal's interview and doing this, and then doing this. All of a sudden, oh, there's an email.
Yeah.
I'm a business owner,
yeah,
and then it's like, wait, hold on a second. It's like let's take the time here. But then you also see online where it's these people like this dude Ashton Hall. I don't know if you saw his
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's got like this crazy morning routine where he's like
Yeah,
puts his face in the ice and everything.
every minute of his morning routine.
And everybody's like kind of clowning him, and
Yeah, yeah.
and they're like, well, can you not have a good day if you don't do that?
Yeah.
And it almost becomes like sort of a crutch where it's like, okay, cool, if you don't do your morning routine, like, are you just gonna fall apart and like
Yeah.
just have this terrible day? So,
Like
what
that.
what would you say to people that are kind of like the opposite of that now in media, where they're like, hey, cool, like I get that,
Yeah.
but also it's just like, don't use that as your crutch. Like, keep going, just
Yeah.
do the work.
It's funny. There's one guy who has he's leveraged I won't say his name, but he's leveraged the Miracle Morning. He runs Facebook ads on like that speak specifically to the language that I use in the book, and he's like, you don't need a morning routine, just go to work. Like, basically the same thing. And so here's what I would say is, well, if you ask Miracle Morning practitioners, one of the questions I get a lot is, how many days a week should I do this, right? Like somebody that's brand new and starting out. Like, and most people, we've been conditioned to think you do things 5 days a week and then you do nothing 2 days a week, right?
Yeah.
And what happened, and that's how I started my Miracle Morning, Monday through Friday, and then sleep in Saturday, sleep in Sunday. And what happened is when I would do the Miracle Morning, again, it's putting you in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state to start your day, right?
Nothing is more important.
Yeah. And so now you're not waking up at the last minute and going from groggy to trying to be productive. You're going from, I meditated and I got in a state of total relaxation and peace, and I cleared out any negative energy, right? I read my affirmations and I reminded myself what I'm committed to, why it's a must for me, and which actions I'm going to take today and why. Great. Now I have enhanced clarity, belief. I love what you said about how Tony's
State story strategy.
state story strategy fits into that, right? Step 1 of the affirmations formula. I am committed. What state? You're putting your state in a state of commitment, affirming I am committed to this, right? The story are the whys. Your story is, here's why this is so important to me, right? Nothing is more enriching of a story than like the meaning of why you're doing something. And then strategy. That's the third step of the affirmations formula. And I've never thought of it in this context. When you said it, I was like, it's the strategy. What are you going to do and when, right?
Mhm.
So then
And
your
it flows in that order.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, yeah. It's wild. It's the exact same order. Maybe in my subconscious, I've followed Tony for years. There's probably somewhere in there was maybe that's
Well, I mean, because of that, it's like you could tell it's a universal truth.
yes. There
When
you
you
go.
have 10 different people saying 10 different ways of the same thing,
That's
the
it.
same lesson.
That's
That's how you know
That's it.
that
Yeah.
it's truth.
Yeah.
It's not just opinion.
Truth is truth is truth is truth, right? What worked, 1,000 years ago works today.
Yeah.
And then, visualizing yourself performing at your best for the day, exercising, reading, like all of those things in the morning. What happens is you feel incredible, right? You take yourself from waking up. If you wake up and you're groggy at a 2, now you're at a 9 or a 10 going into your day. So that's the value of the morning routine. And then what happens is you sleep in on Saturday and you wake up at, whatever, a couple hours later than you normally would on the weekday. And you just roll into whatever's going on. And you're like, why don't I feel as good as I normally do? Why is my mental clarity normally where it isn't? Why, like, and so myself included, most people, Miracle Morning practitioners will say, oh, I started at 5 days a week and now I do 7
Mm-hmm.
because I feel better when I do it. And for me, I was talking to my son this morning on the way to school, and he said, hey, Dad, will you start waking me up early? This was like music to my ears. He's 12, about to be 13, Halston. We're driving to school this morning, and he says, Dad, will you wake me up on Saturday at 7:30, like early? And I said, yeah, why? How come? He said, I just want to start waking up on early on Saturday because I feel like I missed the whole morning. He goes, even if I lay in bed on Saturday, like at least I'm awake and I can relax and enjoy it instead of like waking up at 11 and then just having to get into something. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I literally told him this pretty much this story. I go, Hal, so that's why I do the miracle morning. And my favorite miracle mornings are on the weekends because I don't have the pressure of work, which for you would be the pressure of school. So yeah, I do a miracle morning. And then sometimes I do nothing for 2 hours, or I do a 3 hour miracle morning and I extend the meditation and the reading. And it's like just really Oprah Winfrey. I wrote this quote in the original Miracle Morning book. She said, I forgot her exact words, but it's something like, there's something special about waking up on a Saturday morning and working because you don't have the pressure that comes with the rest of the week.
Uh, I love it. Like, I genuinely love it, but now I'm trying to kind of, like, pull back from it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy work so much. Like, the goal of life is to make the line between work and play, like, so blurred that
Sure.
becomes indistinguishable,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like, now your entire life is work.
Yeah.
And so, like, for a Saturday and a Sunday, I love to get up and work for at least the morning.
Yeah.
But then I was just like, wait, hold on a second. If I don't schedule anything in my calendar, if I don't schedule play, like, I have to schedule play.
Totally.
If I don't schedule play, if I don't schedule adventures, like Jesse Itzler talks about that. It's like, if you don't put
Yeah.
play and all this in your calendar, he's like, you're just going to fill it with work.
Yeah.
So,
And you eventually will get burned out. Like it
yeah.
might take years when you're younger, like, but you eventually do get burned out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So any advice on that?
Oh yeah, scheduling. I mean, my calendar is, you can almost say it's overscheduled, but all my free time is also in my calendar.
Got
And
it.
to your
So
point,
especially let's talk about in particular the weekends, because that's what brought this up.
yeah. For me, it's different because I have kids now. So,
Yeah.
right, like, so my daughter just turned 16. My son's about to be 13. So it's family time, right? It's very much reserved for family time. So if I was single, right, that would look like, I think that would be friend time. I would force myself, and I'm an introvert. I like to stay home and like be a homebody.
Yeah.
But I always feel good after I get out, right? Like Chandler and I, we just went to on a double date. He's been inviting me for like 2 years to hang out, and I've been like, yeah, I got I got kids, like I'm trying to, they're my priority. So but finally my wife Ursula and I went out with him and Aubrey to dinner, and it was like pulling teeth to get me out there, but I was like, we had such a great time, and I felt so great afterwards, and so did Ursula. We're like, oh, we love them, why we got to spend more time with them. So I think that it's one of those things where, you, to your point, Jesse Isler's point, you've got to put that in the schedule, that fun time, that free time, and that time to relax. That's the miracle morning for me. That's the beauty of it, is it's not work, it's not obligation. It's like, this is my time, right? Call it self-care, call it personal development, call it, the sacred hour, like whatever you want to call it. It's my favorite part of the day. In fact, I was doing a what was the journal? EOS.
Like the traction?
Yeah, Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
He has a journal called the EOS Life, and he and I have the same publisher. So I'm looking at doing a new miracle morning journal or a miracle life journal. And so my publisher was like, let me send you Gino's and like see how you like it. So I'm using his to like see what I like about it that I might want to model. And in the beginning, it has you do like a whole life assessment, and it was like, what are your, like, if you could just do anything for the day, what are your favorite things to do? And I was like, dude, meditate. I love to meditate and pray. Like because that's my, like, it's me connecting with source. It's right. It's with God. It's like, it's so peaceful. I'm like, I love to meditate. I'm like, dude, I love reading good book. And it's so funny, not in order and not even with the same words, but I like wrote down all of the sabers. I'm like, I love to play basketball. Right. So I was like, oh, my favorite things to do are actually these practices. And no wonder I do them every morning. And I love waking up to do them, because I just told this journal in another context that if I could do anything with my day, this is the things I would do. I would just do like an all day miracle day,
Yeah, it's funny. I know we're running out of time here, but it's actually Hormozy was one. Ironically, of all people, Alex Hormozy is the one that gave me this idea, and he's like the ultimate, I'm gonna just work.
on, like,
I'm just gonna like screw the morning routine. I'm just gonna get up and work. But he said in passing, because now he's coming back to humanity a little bit, and he's saying, hey, like, I looked at the ingredients of a perfect day for me, and for me, he's like, if I could just knock out these handful of things, then and I just stack them every day, every day's a good day. And he's like, well, for me, it's I want to write in the morning. He's like, I love writing. And he's like, I love working on these books. And then another thing for me is getting a good lift in with friends
Yeah.
to where I can spend all, like, as long as I want at the gym. I'm not rushed to train with friends. And the last thing is having dinner with friends. He's like, if I can have dinner and have people in. And for me, I was just like, well, what would my perfect day be? And mine was literally, it's so stupid simple when you do this,
Yeah.
and everyone realizes you don't need that much.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so for me, if I have my mornings to myself where I can do something creative and I have a good cappuccino.
There you go.
I love a good
Love a good
cappuccino.
cappuccino. All right.
Anywhere, and I do the same thing no matter what time zone I'm in, no matter where I am in the world. Like, I'm doing the same routine. I'm like, I want to write and kind of do some of the savers there, with a cappuccino. I want to have at least one interesting conversation with somebody that's either new or somebody that I know that's like stimulating conversation.
Yeah.
And the last thing is I want to do work that is impactful to where I can put my stamp on the day. And that could be like work at the gym. That could be work in like the context of my business. But I want to do work that's just really intentional to where I can go to bed at night and say like, I progressed towards a goal today.
Nice.
And so even if it's a weekend and you're progressing towards the goal of spending time with your friends, like that is still good work.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So, man, like this has been amazing. I can go with like, maybe we need to do a part 2, part 3, part 4. But now the studio is going to kick us out.
Yeah.
So man, closing advice for anybody that is trying to live this miracle life, man, because, you know, people are going through all different flavors of hard, and you've given so many practical tips for people, like the miracle morning, miracle equation, all of these different, like the 5-minute rule, all of these things that you talk about. What's one last closing thought that you have for them, or maybe even a closing thought for yourself in where you are today? Some advice.
It's enjoy every moment. Enjoy every moment of this one life that you and we've been blessed to live. And I have, when you walk into my house, there's a like framed picture that just says, it's got a beautiful scene and it just says, enjoy every moment. And I forget that as much as the next person, right? And how do you enjoy every moment? It's a lot of things we talked about, like the 5-minute rule. You accept the things that you can't change, right? So that you're not resisting reality and wishing it were different than it is. You accept, and part of what you can't change is where you are in this moment.
Expect the best, accept the rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm taking that one.
Maintain the unwavering faith that you can get where you want to go while being at peace with where you are. And so, but just enjoy every moment. And that's like, if I think about when at the end of my life, if I look back and I look at how much time I wasted being unhappy, and I blamed it on external circumstances, when again, you can meet somebody that's going through the same circumstance. They're like, why are you allow it to get to you so much? Why do you allow it to make you so upset, dude? You can't change it. Just be at peace with it and smile. Enjoy. Like, look at, you have a family, you have food on the table, you got a roof over your head. You're like, dude, you're alive. What you have so much that you should be smiling about, and like you're always worried and stressed and comparing yourself, and like just chill, enjoy every moment. That's my parting advice.
And the irony in closing is everybody says that they want those people in their life.
Yeah.
They want to be around positive, uplifting, inspiring, optimistic, motivational people. The sad truth is that if you are not that yourself, the other people are not going to want to be around you. Yeah, they don't want to be around you.
Yeah. That was one of my first affirmations before I called it an affirmation when I was 19, when I first started selling Cutco. I forgot what I called them. I called them my self-growth statements or something. And one of them was there was like 8 of them. One was be the most positive person that I know. And that just came up for me when you said,
I love that.
Like that. So I was affirming that, right? I was reminding myself every day, looking at that. And I literally became that.
Where can people find out more about you? If they want to get the books, they want to see the movie, where do you want them to go?
Yeah, the miraclemorning.com is the best hub. You know, you can download the Miracle Morning app for free in the App Store. You can watch the movie free on YouTube. You can buy the books on Amazon. But if you want to just go to miraclemorning.com, right, like everything there on the homepage would link you to all of that stuff. So
perfect. So miraclemorning.com. Dude, this helped me too, man. Like, hopefully this helps millions of people that watch the clips from this. They listen to the podcast. So thanks for being you, man.
Brian, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. Long time coming. Wonder Twin Powers, activate. Guys, this has been Brian and Hal with the Action Academy podcast, signing off.